Welcome back. In this class, we are going to learn about the third property of sound, something known as timbre. Timbre is basically the personality of the sound we are using. Let's think about ocean waves again. Perhaps we can see two seas at the same time. Both have waves with the same amplitude and frequency, but we can easily differentiate them. Why? Because the water of one is blue and clean, but the water of the other is green and littered. This helps us understand this property. But how does this work with sound? Very simple. I have two instruments, a piano and a violin. In both, we have the same note, the same duration, frequency, and amplitude, but we can easily differentiate them. Why? Because each one has its own personality made up of small details added to its basic properties. To visualize this, I'll use a visual tool called a spectrogram. This tool shows in the form of lines all the frequencies that made up a sound. And I hadn't mentioned it before, but most sounds are not composed of a single frequency, but a sum of many. The most important frequency is usually the one with the highest volume and also the lowest of all the frequencies that make up a sound. That frequency is called the fundamental, and it gives our sounds their tonality. The rest of the higher frequencies that add to the fundamental are called harmonics. As you can see, the fundamental frequency of the piano and the violin is the same, but the harmonics or additional frequencies are different. Those additional frequencies are what form the timbre of a sound. They give it its own personality. But timbre is not just the distribution of harmonics, it also accounts for how its amplitude behaves over time and frequency. It's not the same as a sound that starts and disappears quickly as one that starts and disappear slowly. These changes in amplitude are also part of the timbre. So why is timbre important? Timbre is important because often the type of rhythm or melodies we give to a sound will depend on the timbre of that sound. For example, if I wanted to make a song and use 10 instruments, but all those instruments have a very similar timbre, it will be difficult to differentiate the instruments from each other when listening to them at the same time. On the other hand, if we consider the timbre, we can distribute the melodies across all available frequencies and make everything sound fuller and more interesting. That's why many times novice music producers have trouble making their songs or mixes sound good. They think the problem lies in the mix, mastering, EQ, or some other production process, when maybe they didn't consider the selection of sounds from the beginning, making it very difficult to place them within the mix. On the other hand, considering timbre from the beginning, our composition will sound more balanced. So here's your homework. Listen to some of the most common instruments and analyze them with a similar tool that your music production software has. Some equalizers have a similar visualization mode with peaks to indicate the strongest frequencies. This way, you'll be able to see which sound is high-pitched, which is low-pitched, and which is more mid-range. See you in the next lesson.